ਅੱਜ ਬੰਬੇ ਬੈਂਕੁਏਟ ਹਾਲ ਸਰੀ ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਕੋਲੰਬੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਰੈਲੀ ਹੋਣੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ BC ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਤਰਫੋਂ ਤੇ ਬੜਾ ਉਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਇੱਥੇ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਹੁਮਾ ਕੇ ਪਹੁੰਚੀ ਹੈ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਊਥ ਏਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਸਿੱਖ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਹਿੰਦੂ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਚਾਈਨੀਜ਼ ਗੋਰੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਜਨਤਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਪਹੁੰਚੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਉਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਾਫੀ ਐਕਸਾਈਟਮੈਂਟ ਦੇਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਆ ਤੇ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਆ ਸਰੀ ਖਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਉਹ ਇੱਥੇ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਵਾਂਗੇ ਤੇ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਦੇਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲੂਗਾ ਕਿ BC ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਦੇ ਲੀਡਰ ਜੌਨ ਰਸਟੈਡ ਉਹ ਕੀ ਅਨਾਉਂਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਕੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਾਤਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਰੂਬਰੂ ਕਰਾਵਾਂਗੇ CJ ਸਿੱਧੂ ਰਿਪੋਰਟਿੰਗ ਫਰਮ ਬੰਬੇ ਬੈਂਕੁਏਟ ਹਾਲ ਸਰੀ ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਕੋਲੰਬੀਆ Eleanor Sturko, candidate for MLA, well, sitting MLA and now candidate from Surrey, Cloverdale. Yes. And so what transpired you to switch your riding from Surrey South to Cloverdale?
Well, you know, the party had a candidate there. And, you know, for me too, part of Surrey South actually went to Surrey Cloverdale, the new riding, when the boundary changed. 12,000 households from Surrey South actually are in Surrey Cloverdale. So it's, although, you know, I'm not in the greater part of Surrey South, there is actually a portion of Surrey South in my new riding. So when I was hitting the doors, I could even say, hi, I'm your MLA and you're changing ridings, and so am I. So, you know what, I'm really excited to represent the people of Surrey Cloverdale. I'm ready. Over the last 2 years, I did my very best to represent not only the people of Surrey South, but all British Columbians, whether I was fighting against drug decriminalization, fighting for safer streets because of David Evy's catch and release justice. And I'll continue to do that in Cloverdale. I think that it's important to be a strong voice in the BC legislature. I've proven that I can be one, and I'm ready to do that.
So Eleanor, BC Conservatives, some of the candidates, they have some insensitive kind of comments. You know, Brent Chapman, you know that, and some other candidates. And I'm not saying that not with the NDP. What are your take on these kind of issues?
You know what, I was disappointed to see some of those comments, and you know, look, that doesn't reflect my personal beliefs or values. It does not reflect the personal values of our party. I think it's important for us to get out into the community like I have in Surrey Cloverdale. I want people to know who I am as a candidate, what I stand for. And that's why it's important that actually I have been doing so much campaigning in my own riding. You know what, I think it is hurtful when people see comments that can be divisive. That's why we need to make sure that we are clear about who we are as a Conservative Party.
And that's good to know. And Eleanor, you're a well-meant person, and I know you personally for a long time. Now, they're getting rid of SOGI 1, 2, 3, sexual orientation and gender identity. You probably have a better idea what they are replacing with.
Yeah, well, you know, we're going to be working closely with educators. We're going to be listening to parents. But, you know, it's not going to be decisions made by politicians. We want to make sure that we're working with experts in education. But the reality is that there have been examples of some resources that were available in schools that parents have raised concerns with because of the sexual nature of some of those materials. Some of which I've shared on social media, and they're just examples of some of the things that have eroded the trust of parents. And it's time for us to review, to replace, and to make sure we refresh the materials that are reflecting a diverse community. Of course, we always will encourage our education system to reflect a diverse society because we are diverse, many backgrounds and many different religions and cultures. Including the LGBT community. And we're going to continue to reflect everybody in our education system, but we want to do so by making sure that the materials and resources that are available in our public school system are age appropriate and that they aren't sexually explicit. And, you know, I think that we're going to be able to do that. I think that with working together with educators and, you know, community groups as well, I think that we'll be successful. And I know that John himself has said one of the things that, would be really important for us is putting a real emphasis on anti-bullying.
Yes.
I think one of the things that we've actually resoundingly heard is that bullying in schools is a persistent problem, and that kids today actually have a lot of challenges when it comes to their mental health and wellness because of the COVID pandemic, but also because of bullying in the school system. We need to be really strong and to have clear programming that we actually have a focus on the wellness of students, and that's what we're going to do.
So, Eleanor, you noticed that being a former RCMP officer and RCMP spokesperson, there is a crimes like petty crimes and other crimes. They are increasing tremendously. What are your take on that, and how with your help with the BC Conservatives, if and when you form the government, how you will change that landscape?
I think one of the important things is recognizing, first and foremost, having a government in the Conservatives of BC that recognize there's a problem here. We saw time and again from David Eby and the NDP denial, plenty of denial about the fact that there is a catch and release justice system here. They fought against reforming bail. So Conservatives of BC, we're going to fight for tougher sentencing, minimum mandatory sentencing. We're going to invest in our justice system. Some of the problems with catch and release justice, David Eby's system here, is that he has underfunded our court system. We have a shortage of sheriffs, which has actually led to courtrooms closing down. John Rustad and Conservatives of BC are, going to make public safety a priority. In fact, I know that a lot of people in British Columbia no longer feel safe in their community. We've had some very terrible high-profile incidents, including a young woman here in Surrey murdered in her home by a violent repeat offender. This is the kind of thing that has to stop and will stop. We're committed to finding the solutions and implementing every possible solution to make sure that British Columbians can be safe in their home and on the streets.
So 2 more sleeps, like you said.
2 more sleeps, yeah. It's like conservative Christmas, right?
So what do you expect on Saturday night?
I don't think I can have expectations. I'm in a tight race. I'm in a close race in my new riding. And, we've been putting in the work. And, I think that it's too close to call. I feel confident in my abilities to be the MLA. And if I have that honor, I know that I'll, be able to meet the expectations of our community. But it's too tight of a race to call at this point. So all I can do is encourage every single Conservative supporter to please get out and vote.
And your final comments?
Well, it's been an absolute honor for me to serve in the BC legislature over the last 2 years. Politics is a wild ride. And it's been...
Why they call it a blood sport?
Yeah, exactly, right? A blood sport. And, this is a historic election and a historic time for politics in British Columbia, with the rise of the Conservatives of British Columbia, forming a new coalition, right of centre. Regardless of the outcome, this is the first time in 100 years that the Conservatives of BC have run 93 candidates. Either way we look at it, this is historic, and I'm very proud of our leader, John Rustad.
Thank you very much, Ellen.
Thank you.
Always pleasure. So, Linda, 2 more sleeps.
2 more sleeps.
How you feel?
I'm excited. I think it's going to be great. I hope that the province is ready for change.
Yeah, and, you're talking to people, how you feel at the street and what people are saying. Are they ready for the change?
I think so. I think people are really looking forward to what is possible under a new government. I know that they're excited about the Children's Hospital. I know that they're actually anxious to see some considerable change relative to what's going on the streets and some of the chaos we see with drugs and
crime. There's a lot of petty crime happening, and a serious crime as well.
And people want to feel like they can go out with their families and go for a walk, and for that we do need change.
Yeah, definitely. What is your message to people who are listening to our program?
I think that the most important thing we could say right at this point in time, everybody needs to think about what over the last 7 years has looked like, and get out there on October 19 and make change happen.
So there is a record pre-election voting, like close to million. What do you think? What would that trend think going in your guys' favor?
I would think that that indicates people are ready to see a change, and we'll see on the 19th.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Linda.
I feel really good. We've been working very, very hard in Delta South, working as if, it's the toughest election I've ever gone through, but I think we're doing very well. I've done very well over the years. I have a lot of support in Delta South, and I'm looking forward to Saturday night.
So what are you hearing at the street? When you go, talk to people, talk to your farmer buddies, what do they say?
The main word is change. We need some change in this province, whether it comes to dealing with, crime, drugs, addictions, our cost, affordability, carbon tax, all these different things. We need change. We need to make it easier for farmers and people to get the work done without so much red tape and permitting and all the different things that's making small business difficult.
And what you will say and to our viewers?
I just want to say we need change. I've sat through 7 years in official opposition, looking at 32 new taxes, so many bills that come through from the NDP government that are not helping people in BC, not helping young people in BC, not helping our economy. So I'm saying get out there on Saturday, tell your neighbors, vote for the BC Conservative Party for good change in this province.
So what do you see in a pre-polling that almost $1 million people voted? You think it seems like going in your favor?
I think it's fantastic. In Delta South, the lineups have been very long for advanced polling, even for myself, 20 minutes in a lineup to be able to vote. And I think people that want to see change are excited to get out and vote early and vote often. So, yeah, I think they're looking good. Yeah.
Thank you, Ian. Hanji Jishan, two more sleeps. How you feel?
I'm very excited. I'm very positive. Things are looking pretty great.
And how you feel at the street and talking to people?
Well, honestly speaking, I'm working since April, and I see that people are coming out, even in the rain, they're going out to vote, and I see a positive change is coming in BC right now.
So, अपनी community ਦੇ ਲੋਕ ਕੀ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ?
ਭਾਜੀ ਹਰ ਬੰਦਾ ਇਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਚੇਂਜ ਮੰਗ ਰਿਹਾ, ਹਰ ਬੰਦਾ ਤੰਗ ਆਇਆ ਪਿਆ ਹੈ, ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਠੀਕ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ ਵਾਲੀਆਂ। ਇੱਕ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਐਨਡੀਪੀ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਦੀ, ਉਹ ਝੂਠ ਤੇ ਝੂਠ ਬੋਲੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ, ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ 'ਚ। ਔਰ ਲੋਕੀ ਇਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਫੈਡਅਪ ਆ ਗਏ ਨੇ, ਫੈਡਅਪ ਕਰ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੈਲਥ ਕੇਅਰ ਸਿਸਟਮ, ਆਪਣਾ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਸਿਸਟਮ, ਸੋਜੀ ਸਕੂਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਡਰੱਗਸ, ਐਵਰੀਥਿੰਗ ਹੈਜ਼ ਟੂ ਚੇਂਜ ਐਂਡ ਵੀ ਵਿਲ ਚੇਂਜ ਇਟ। ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਗੋ ਆਊਟ ਐਂਡ ਵੋਟ। ਇਹ ਟਾਈਮ ਹੈਗਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਇੰਪਲੋਈਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਪਿਕ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਤੇ ਪਿਕ ਕਰੋ, ਔਰ ਵੋਟ ਲਾਜ਼ਮੀ ਪਾਓ। ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਪਾਓ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਵੋਟ ਪਾਓ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਵੋਟ ਇੱਕ ਵੋਟ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਹੈਗਾ। ਮੈਂ ਦੇਖ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਐਡਵਾਂਸ ਪੋਲ 'ਚ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਬਾਹਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਨਿਕਲ ਰਹੀ। ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਬਾਹਰ ਨਿਕਲੋ, ਵੋਟ ਪਾਓ ਆਪਣੇ ਲਈ, ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਲਈ, ਆਪਣੇ ਹੱਕ ਲਈ। ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਹੈਗਾ ਜ਼ੀਸ਼ਨ ਵਾਲਾ, ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦਾ ਸਰਸੀ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਤੋਂ, ਔਰ ਸਾਰੀ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਵੋਟ ਪਾਓ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਵਾਅਦੇ ਕੀਤੇ ਨੇ, ਚੇਂਜਸ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣਾ ਚਾਹ ਰਹੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਈਏ, ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵੋਟਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਹੋਣਾ।
Thank you, Jish.
Thank you so much.
Thank you and good luck.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming out this evening. I am Linda Hepner with Surrey Serpentine. Okay, I want to welcome you all tonight, and I would like to introduce to you my Surrey colleagues that are here. Mandeep Dollywall, Surrey North. Hanveer Randhawa, Surrey Guildford. Ishan Walla, Surrey City Centre. Avtar Gill, Surrey Fleetwood. Lejeune, Ball, Surrey, Newton. Eleanor, Sturco, Surrey, Cloverdale. Brian Tepper, Surrey, Panorama. Trevor Halford, Surrey, White Rock. And we are joined by others today. Just stand up, but they're all going to be elected on October 19th. It is my great pleasure to stand before you today and to introduce to you a man who has been fighting for British Columbia for over 2 decades. I am thrilled to be part of the team helping him with this fight, and I know all of you are on our side. So, without further ado, introducing to you the next Premier of British Columbia, John Rustad.
How are you guys doing tonight? Go on, you can do better than that. How are you guys doing tonight? Are you ready to turn Surrey blue? Are you ready to turn British Columbia blue? It's so great to be able to be here back in Surrey. You know, we started off our campaign right here in Surrey. We started off many, many months ago because we know Surrey is the key to winning this election. And I tell you, we've got great candidates. They're fighting hard every single day for people. Let's give them another round of hand for our great candidates here in Surrey. Of course, we've got candidates from all around the Lower Mainland that are here with us as well. And I tell you, it's really great to see the excitement that's being built around the province. What I'm seeing today, right across BC, is people hungry for change. They're hungry for common sense. And just think about this. We've already seen 1.1 million people vote today, and they're out there voting for common sense change. They're voting for a conservative government. I think about how we're going to do this and how we're going to be able to deliver for the people across this province and how we're going to deliver for the people in Surrey. And it's really a simple formula. We are just going to make sure that we put people at the focus of what we do. That's why we're going to get rid of the carbon tax. We're going to put $1,200 back in the pockets of families right across this province. We're going to make sure that for rent and for mortgages, up to $3,000 a month is going to be able to create a tax credit. That's going to put $1,800 back in the pockets of families across this province to help make life more affordable. And when I think about, you know, across the province what needs to happen in healthcare, there's no question when you look at Surrey, when you look at what's going on in Surrey, we see right now significant challenges. 10, 8, 10, 12 hours of wait time that are needed. You know what? I said this the other night. I said this the other night when we did our platform, and I had to laugh a little bit because it was the first time we actually had NDPers that had woken up in the entire campaign, so I see we've got a little bit more of that here. But that's all fine. There's no question in my mind, though, when I look at it, healthcare is at the center of what we need to be doing in British Columbia. Surrey Memorial, you're often an 8, 10, or 12-hour wait. So many people have to leave this city to go elsewhere. I just think, quite frankly, that's unacceptable. That's why we are committed to seeing a children's hospital built right here in Surrey for the people in this community. It'll service not only, of course, the city of Surrey, it'll service everybody south of the Fraser, because quite frankly, for too long this city has been ignored. It has been taken for granted, and no more. A Conservative government will make sure that we deal with Surrey properly. It's going to become the largest city in British Columbia. It's going to be the first city to reach 1 million people, and we need to make sure we build out the services for this city. And I can tell you, healthcare is just one thing we need to do. You know, certainly we're going to go ahead with Cloverdale. We're going to go ahead with the expansion at Surrey Memorial, but a children's hospital will make such a huge difference for so many parents that are expecting, for so many moms that have to leave this community. It's just the right thing to be able to do for the community here. We also want to make sure, quite frankly, we deal with transportation. I don't know how many of you get stuck in Massey Tunnel. I've been through there too many times and get stuck and delayed. Enough is enough. We're not waiting another decade for some sort of plan B. We're going to put a bridge in. We're going to make sure that gets built, and we're going to make sure that gets built as a priority right away. We also want to make sure, quite frankly, that the Patella Bridge, that was a bridge that was built for 4 lanes for when Surrey was 62,000 people. And here we are, 650 approaching 700,000 people, and the NDP think it's okay to put a 4-lane bridge in. I don't think so. We're going to make sure we expand that to a 6-lane bridge so we have that extra traffic, we have that extra capacity. It's what's needed for the community. It's been 40 years since SkyTrain came to Surrey. 40 years. Think about how much the growth there has been in Surrey since that happened. And yet we haven't seen any additional growth in terms of SkyTrain. We're going to make sure we not only build the SkyTrain out to Langley, but we're going to build a SkyTrain all the way out to Newton as well, and make sure that we have those services that are needed, those transit services for this community. There's so much more that we need to do for the community, for Surrey. So much more that needs to be done, but probably the most important thing to me is kids and our future. Right now, today, in British Columbia, 1 in 3 people are thinking about leaving. But more importantly, 1 in 2 youth are thinking about leaving this province. And they're leaving because they don't have hope. They're leaving because they can't afford to be here. They're leaving because they want to be able to build a future, and they don't see that in British Columbia. And to me, that is wrong. This is why we've got to take these steps, not just about reducing taxes and helping, with the day-to-day stuff, but we have to make sure that we get our economy going. We have to make sure that we get government out of the way and get the jobs that we need, and particularly get the high wages that we need in this province. That's why we're going to be heavily focused on getting rid of all the red tape and all the structure that's blocking our economy. We're going to make sure we get mines open. We're going to put our feet back under our forest sector. We're going to make sure that we take advantage of our natural gas that we have, and we're going to make sure that as a small business or a large business, you have that opportunity to be able to succeed in this province. For far too long, government is just getting in the way. It's time to get government out of the way and bring some common sense back to how we do things. But when it comes to our kids as well, we need to make sure our education system is doing the right thing for our students. We have seen a decline in reading and arithmetic numbers. We're seeing university professors that are saying our kids are not prepared for their future. We need to change this. We need to make sure we get back to having letter grades. We got to make sure our education system is teaching kids how to think, not what to think. We've got to make sure that it's focused on building that future for the kids. And that's why we need to get things like SOGI out of our schools. It is just disastrous. Parents need to know what's going on in our schools. Parents need to know what's going on with their kids. So it's a critical thing that we do is do that. But we also want to make sure that every kid is welcome in our school. We want to make sure we've got a solid anti-bullying program in place and supports in place, just because it's the right thing to do for kids in our future. And when I think about Surrey, I also think about the challenge we have with portables in our schools here. And right now, the school district is putting kids on shift. I just don't, I went on shift for a year when I was going to high school, and I tell you, it sucks. It sucks as a kid, and it sucks as a family, it sucks as a parent. And we have to stop this nonsense from happening. So that means we're going to have to use the space that we can in the schools to stop this, but we have to have a serious program in place to build out additional capacity for the schools in Surrey. That's something that'll be a commitment to do. We're going to use every opportunity possible with the existing sites, but more importantly, we're going to make sure that you can see the real difference that'll happen, a plan over the next decade to how we'll build out that capacity and the idea of being on shift, and try to make sure we put as many kids as we can back in schools instead of portables. Every government has promised it. No government has delivered it. A Conservative government will make sure we deliver that for Surrey. And when it comes to healthcare, we talked about the new hospital that needs to be built here. There's so much that we need to do in our healthcare system. One of the first things we need to do, though, is we need to make sure we get our healthcare professionals back to work. There's close to 10,000 healthcare professionals that were either fired or left the system because of the mandates. So we're going to make sure we drop the mandates. We're going to make sure we drop all the ridiculous restrictions on it and get these people back to work to help out. We need these people on the front lines helping people out on a day-to-day basis. And in addition to that, we have seen just a tremendous amount of administration burden that has gone into our healthcare system. It is really quite remarkable to see Germany, which has twice the population of Canada, we have 10 times as many administrators. Close to 40% of our nurses are administrators. We've got to get rid of this red tape and this bureaucracy, the administration process, and get all of these people focused on being able to deliver services on the front line. When we have doctors and other health professionals that come from outside our jurisdiction, we got to make sure we cut all the bureaucratic process out to get them to deliver services to people. I was talking with a family here. There was two doctors who moved here from India. The wife was a general practitioner and the husband was a surgeon. It was going to take them both 4 years to be able to qualify to work in British Columbia. 4 years. And so they made a decision. The wife was going to go first. She entered in. The husband, who was a surgeon, would take a labor job and go back to India and do surgeries for 6 months a year. After 4 years, now she was qualified to work. Now it was his turn. The system kept that person out of our ability of being able to service the people in British Columbia for 8 years. That is completely unacceptable. This has got to be fixed. We need our healthcare professionals. We need these people in our system today. And I tell you something, when it also comes to healthcare, we have right now a government that believes the system is more important than patients. That's why we need to have it focused on patients. We've got a government that believes it is okay to be putting drugs in the hands of our kids. It's okay. David Eby is actually out saying it's okay to take your welfare check and spend it all on buying something like crack cocaine. That's just, to me, is just crazy to do. So we're going to end decriminalization. We're going to end that safe supply. We're going to make sure that drug stops getting into the hands of our kids. And we've got the chief health officer in British Columbia who's gone out to Ottawa and said we need to double down on decriminalization. We need to actually expand safe supply and make it available in our grocery stores so that anybody can go and pick it up. And so I can tell you something, that is not the approach the Conservative governments take. We're not only going to get rid of the drugs, but we need a new provincial health officer in British Columbia. These are just some of the changes that we need to make, in education and healthcare. Some of the other things we need to think about is this. the crime that is happening on our streets is not okay. The province that I grew up in did not have these problems. We should not have the problems today. People should be able to be safe. People should be able to be safe on our streets. People should be able to be safe, going to stores. People should be able to safe to have their kids going out and playing in playgrounds. And we're not seeing that today. And it's no wonder. David Eby actually wrote the handbook on how to get arrested. He wrote a second book on how to sue the police. This is who our premier is in British Columbia. It's absolutely crazy to think that this guy is in charge of our police and in charge of crime. It's no wonder we have a soft on crime approach and this rotating door. So we're going to make sure we push the feds on bail reform, but more than that, we're going to push for guaranteed minimum sentencing. We need to make sure we get these people off our streets. But who knows how long it's going to take the federal government to be able to make those changes. So we've got to take steps right here in British Columbia to deal with this. That's why we're going to see reform in our court system. We're going to hire more judges. We're going to hire more sheriffs. We're going to make sure that we set a separate path for these prolific offenders so that we can get them into a court system within 1 to 2 weeks, not 18 months. It's time to get these people off our streets and make people safe again in British Columbia. But there's another very serious area we need to think about as well, and that is we have these tragic people, these tragic conditions of these prolific violent offenders that are being put back out on the streets. These are people who have mental illness. They're prolific violent offenders, often with weapons charges. And I was talking to the Dunn family here in Surrey, and one of these people with a long record was led out on the streets and killed their daughter. And I tell you something, there is no parent who should ever have to bury their child. This is unacceptable to me that this has happened in British Columbia. And so one of the things that we'll do, if the legal system cannot put these people away, if the legal system can't keep them off our streets, what we'll do is we'll look at using the Mental Health Act. When somebody is at risk of harming themselves or others, they can be held and treated until they're no longer a risk. We need to get these people off the streets. And to just make a point of how serious we are about this, we will likely get a charter challenge on this because we're taking away an individual's rights to do this. But I look at it this way: what about the rights of the rest of the citizens in this province and in this community? What about our rights to be able to have safe streets? What about our rights to be able to go out in a playground and be safe in this province? So if we get a charter challenge and the court decides that it's not right, we will use the notwithstanding clause to make sure that we keep our streets safe and we make sure we keep our communities safe in this province. Enough is enough. I want to talk just for a second, though, about drugs. We talked about wanting to get rid of decriminalization and safe supply and the lives that have been destroyed in British Columbia. I was up in Campbell River and I saw a monument that was put there, one small blue flag planted in the ground for every boy and man who has died from an overdose. 12,000 flags in the ground, and more are being added every month. There's women who also have died from overdoses. Enough is enough on the approach. It is clear to me what British Columbia is doing is not working. Across the country last year, there was over 5,700 people who died from an overdose. Over 2,500 of those were in British Columbia. Almost half the people in the country that died from overdoses in British Columbia. That's somebody's son. That's somebody's father. This needs to come to an end in British Columbia, and that's why we're going to make sure we build out a significant program of doctor-prescribed treatment, of short-term treatment recovery to longer-term treatment, and also what we call compassionate involuntary care. And what I mean by that is, if you had an 11-year-old daughter who was addicted, 11-year-old daughter who's, you've got hopes and dreams for the future, and if that child did not want to go into treatment, as a parent, there's nothing you can do. And I think that's wrong. Any parent would want to do everything they can to make sure that their child could receive treatment and recovery and to be able to have a full and productive life. And so in British Columbia, we're going to make sure we change that. We're going to make sure that we allow parents to be able to do what's right for their children. And there was a young boy, his name was Christian DeSoto, and he was somebody who was addicted to drugs. And in grade 9, when he was addicted to drugs, the teacher knew about it and didn't tell the parents. And I just think that's wrong. This is why we got to make sure parents know what's going on in the school. But more importantly, the parents, when they did find out, did everything they could to try to get help for their son, and the system failed them. This is why we're going to call this act in his honor, the Christian's Law. Make sure that parents have that right to be able to look after their children, because it's the right thing to be able to do for people in British Columbia. But overall, what we need to be doing in British Columbia is really quite simple. We just have to get back to common sense. We've got to get government out of the way. We've got to make sure that people can succeed in this province, that people can see that hope for a future, that particularly the kids can see how they can build their life here. And as a government, that should be our number one goal. We should make sure that just through a common sense approach, people have that opportunity to be able to build a future right here in British Columbia. So we're going to, like I say, we're going to get government bureaucracy out of the way. We got to deal with our deficit. We got to do that by making sure we grow our economy, not through taxation. And for that reason, I think it's important that we put power back into the hands of people. So we're going to pass a piece of legislation that says there can be no new taxes or no increased taxes except by referendum. Let's give the power back to the people in this province. And as part of deciding to help, the kids to be able to build a future here, we got to drive down the costs. We're going to make sure we build the homes that are needed. We're going to get government out of the way so that you don't have these long delays. We're going to bring money to the table to deal with things like water and sewer upgrades. We're just going to make sure, quite frankly, that we can get stuff done. I like to use a different word there, but I'm going to be kind tonight. We just have to be able to get stuff done in this province, and that's going to be a theme of our government to make things happen. Because at the end of the day, all of you are here because you had hopes for the future. All of you are here because you saw British Columbia as a place where you could build your life, where you could raise a family. Everybody that came to this province, no matter whether it was 7 generations ago or whether it was just last week, are here because of that hope of what British Columbia is. And that's what we need to restore again. We need to make sure that we can be proud to be British Columbians, that people can feel safe no matter who you love, no matter who you worship, no matter where you're from, that you have the opportunity to build a future right here in British Columbia. It's been 7 years under David Eby, 7 years of government of the NDP. And can anybody point to anything that is better? Anything. Nothing is better. Nothing has been better in this province. David Eby has brought us nothing but drugs in our street, crime. They've destroyed our healthcare system. They've destroyed our finances. And quite frankly, what I find most shocking is he's actually running against his own record in this election. It's hilarious to watch. He's out every day just saying lies because he cannot defend what he's doing. Just today, for example, he was out there saying that we're going to cut $4.1 billion out of healthcare. No, we're not. We're adding $3.8 billion into healthcare. But he keeps on coming out with these lies. He comes out and talks about it, says that we're going to put tolls on bridges, or we're going to bring back MSP. All of these are just lies. And he's doing that because as a weak leader, that's all he can do. He can't defend what he has done to this province. But I can tell you something, as a Conservative Party, you're going to get straight up goods from us. We're going to say it like it is. We're going to be straight up with people, and we're going to make sure that we are focused on improving people's lives every single day. And how I want to be measured as a government is this. after 4 years, I want to see the fact that instead of 1 and 2 youth are thinking about leaving this province, that they're optimistic about building a future here in British Columbia and other youth are coming. This is what we need to be able to do in British Columbia. You know, Bruce Banman is here, and there's something he said to me a while ago, and I just want to repeat this, because I think it's most important in terms of why we're doing what we're doing. Bruce has 3 grandchildren, one of them who's now 12 years old. He wants to be in a position where that 12-year-old can build a future in British Columbia, because he does not want to be in a case where a number of years from now, the 12-year-old is packing up his bags and he's helping him put the bags in the car, and the 12-year-old turns to him and says, "Grandpa, why didn't you fight for me? Why didn't you fight for my future?" That is why we are here. We need to fight for British Columbia. We need to bring common sense back to British Columbia. So let's get out there and do this, folks. Let's make sure that we turn Surrey blue. Let's make sure we turn British Columbia blue. Make sure you get out and vote. Make sure you get friends to come out and vote. And on Saturday, let's bring hope back to British Columbia. Let's bring common sense back to British Columbia. Thanks, everybody, for being here.
So, Trevor, how you feel now? 2 days left. How you feel about the elections?
I feel good, CJ. You know, listen, there's a great crowd out here. Thousands of people. They want change, right? We're seeing it in the advanced polls. We're seeing it at the doors. We're seeing it everywhere. People are frustrated. They want change. And we're going to give them that change. And we're going to give them that change on October 19th.
So there is a huge turnout, about close to 1 million. And what do you feel? What that indicates?
I think people are getting out. I think people know that there's an opportunity here. In 7 years, can anybody point to anything that's gotten better? Whether it's healthcare, whether it's affordability, whether it's public safety, whether it's education. The fact is that British Columbia has struggled under this government, and people are leaving in record numbers. We need to be doing better. And, you know, they've had 2 chances. They've had 2 terms. Their time is up. Let's go.
So when you go on the street and listen to in South Surrey, White Rock area, in my backyard, what are you hearing from people?
Well, I'm hearing that people are frustrated. We have a housing crisis that's not getting better. We have a public safety issue. You know, we are seeing prolific offenders on our streets that are committing crimes. The healthcare system, we had partial diversions at Peace Arch Hospital for the first time ever, right? Where we were actually turning people away from the emergency department. So the fact is that, you know, the healthcare system has been in crisis for a number of years now. We cannot afford, British Columbia can't afford, White Rock can afford, Surrey cannot afford another 4 years of NDP government.
Your final comments.
I just encourage everybody to get out there and vote. Get out there and vote. Vote Conservative. You know, look for the best candidate that you've got that's Conservative in your riding, because the fact is that we want to make sure that we're fighting for people. We want to put people before politics.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jen. See you.
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹੁਣ ਵੀਰ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੁਣ 2 ਦਿਨ ਰਹਿ ਗਏ ਆ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਫੀਲ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ?
ਬਹੁਤ ਗੁੱਡ ਫੀਲ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਜੀ। ਮੇਰੇ ਏਰੀਆ ਅੰਦਰ 10,000 ਵੋਟਾਂ ਆਲਰੇਡੀ ਪੈ ਚੁੱਕੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਅਸੀਂ ਕਾਫੀ ਹਾਰਡ ਵਰਕ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ। ਬਿਹਾਈਂਡ ਮੀ ਮਾਈ ਬ੍ਰਦਰ ਇਨ ਲਾ, ਮਾਈ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ, everybody has gone out of their way. ਅਸੀਂ ਦਿਨ ਰਾਤ ਇੱਕ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ। ਘੱਟ ਤੋਂ ਘੱਟ 40-50 ਬੰਦੇ ਡੋਰਾ ਖੜਕਾਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਸਾਰੇ ਚੇਂਜ ਲੱਭਦੇ ਨੇ, ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਲੋਕੀ ਤੰਗ ਆ ਗਏ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਆਲਰੇਡੀ NDP ਨੇ ਚਲਾਇਆ ਫਰੋਮ ਲਾਸਟ 7 years। ਕਿਸੇ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਬੈਟਰਮੈਂਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ। ਹੈਲਥ ਕੇਅਰ ਕੰਪਲੀਟਲੀ ਮੈਸਡ ਅਪ ਹੈ, ਐਂਡ ਅਸੀਂ ਜੋ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣਾ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਫ੍ਰੀ, absolutely free, but half an hour guaranteed wait time. So that's it. Any 11 घंटे बैठे रहिए आप, absolutely not. And feeling very good, very positive. And SOGI ਅਸੀਂ ਸਕੂਲ ਤੋਂ ਹਟਾ ਦੇਣੀ ਹੈ। ਅਦਰ ਕੋਈ ਹੋਰ ਐਂਟੀ ਬੁਲਿੰਗ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣਾ ਹੈ, ਬਟ ਨਾਟ SOGI, ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀਜ਼ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਰਾਈਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ, ਕਿਉਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹ ਤੁੰਨ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਰਾਈਟ? ਵੀ ਗੋtta get rid of it. And lastly, no carbon tax. So life becomes cheaper, food becomes cheaper. So we are doing our best.
ਸੋ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਰੋਡ ਤੇ ਡੋਰ ਨੌਕਿੰਗ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਲੋਕੀ ਕੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ?
ਡੋਰ ਨੌਕਿੰਗ ਜੀ ਦੇਖੋ, ਜੋ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਗਰਾਊਂਡ ਰਿਪੋਰਟ ਮਿਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ 70% ਸਪੋਰਟ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਮੇਰੀ ਏਰੀਆ 'ਚ। ਮੈਂ ਸਰੀ, ਗਿਲਫਰਡ, ਫਰੇਜ਼ਰ ਹਾਈਟ ਤੋਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਹਾਂ। ਚਾਈਨੀਜ਼ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ, ਕੋਰੀਅਨ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ, ਫਿਲਪੀਨੋ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ, ਆਵਰ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ, ਇਵਨ ਵਾਈਟ ਪੀਪਲ, ਐਵਰੀਬਡੀ ਇਜ਼ ਵੈਰੀ ਵੈਰੀ ਮਚ ਸਪੋਰਟਿੰਗ ਅਸ। ਬਟ ਅਰਾਊਂਡ 70% ਸਪੋਰਟ ਗਰਾਊਂਡ 'ਤੇ ਦਿਖਦੀ ਹੈ। ਬਟ ਆਫ ਕੋਰਸ ਮੇਰਾ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਮੈਂ ਲੜ ਰਿਹਾ, ਸੋ ਆਈ ਡੂ ਨਾਟ ਨੋ ਕਿਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਹਿਡਨ ਸਪੋਰਟ NDP ਦੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ, ਬਟ ਲੈਟਸ ਹੋਪ ਫॉर द बेस्ट ਕਿ 70% ਕਮ ਥਰੂ।
ਜਾਂ ਕੀ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੋਗੇ ਅਖੀਰ 'ਚ?
कहना ये चाहूँगा कि इट वॉज एन अमेजिंग एक्सपीरियंस फॉर मी। जितना कि हारा डजन मैटर, बट मैं बहुत लोगों को मिलिया, बहुत खुशी हुई, बहुत लोगों ने जफ्फियां पाइयां, बहुत लोगों ने हाई हैलो की। जे कल जित गया आई विल बी देयर फॉर दैम। प्रॉमिस है एंड प्रॉपर पूरा काम करांगे, टका के करांगे। आवाज़ होएगी, पता लगेगा लोगों को कि कोई MLA सीगा, नॉट लाइक राइट नाउ कि 9 MLA बैठे ने सरी अंदर ते अपने को प्रॉपर हॉस्पिटल भी नहीं है।
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਵੈਰੀ ਮਚ। ਹਾਂਜੀ ਮਿਸ ਗਿੱਲ, ਆਪਣੇ ਹੁਣ 2 ਦਿਨ ਰਹਿ ਗਏ ਆ, ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਫੀਲ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ?
ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਫੀਲ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਜੀ। ਸਾਰੇ ਬਲੂ ਵੇਵ ਆ ਆਪਣੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਹੀ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦਾ ਉਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਅੱਜ, ਤੇ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਪਰਸੋਂ ਨੂੰ ਬੜੀ ਵੱਡੀ ਚੇਂਜ ਆਉਣ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਕੋਲੰਬੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ।
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਸਟਰੀਟ ਤੇ ਕੀ ਸੁਣ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ?
ਲੋਕਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਲੋਕ ਫੈਡ ਅਪ ਨੇ ਹੁਣ ਪਿਛਲੇ 70 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ NDP ਦੇ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਾਜ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੋਂ। ਸੋ ਲੋਕੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਹੈਲਥ ਕੇਅਰ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਅਫੋਰਡੇਬਿਲਟੀ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ, ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਲਓ, ਕਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ। ਸੋ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਕੰਪਲੇਂਟਸ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਲੋਕੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਇਸ ਵਾਰ ਚੇਂਜ ਕਰਨਗੇ।
ਸੋ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਰਾਈਡਿੰਗ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਅਗੇਂਸਟ ਕੌਣ ਹੈ NDP ਤੋਂ?
ਮੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ ਅਵਤਾਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਗਿੱਲ ਤੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਰਾਈਡਿੰਗ ਸਰੀ ਫਲੀਟਵੁੱਡ ਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਅਗੇਂਸਟ NDP ਦੇ ਜਗਰੂਪ ਬਰਾੜ ਲੜ ਰਹੇ।
ਜਗਰੂਪ ਬਰਾੜ। ਤੇ ਲੋਕੀ ਕੀ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਸਟਰੀਟ ਦੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ? ਚਲੋ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੀ ਨੈਗੇਟਿਵ ਗੱਲ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨੀ, ਪਰ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਬਰਾੜ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੋਈ ਪਿਛਲੇ 7 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ?
ਲੋਕੀ ਹੁਣ ਚੇਂਜ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਜੀ, ਇੱਥੋਂ ਹੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਆਈਡੀਆ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ। ਸੋ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦਾ ਉਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਆ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਸ ਵਾਰੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਵੋਟਾਂ ਪਾਉਣੀਆਂ, ਤੇ ਇਹੀ ਲੋਕ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ।
ਐਂਡ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਮੇਨ ਰੀਜ਼ਨ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਲੜਨ ਦਾ ਕੀ ਸੀ?
ਮੇਰਾ ਮੇਨ ਰੀਜ਼ਨ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਲੜਨ ਦਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਡਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਕੋਲੰਬੀਆ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਰੀਸਟੋਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਵੇ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡਾ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਰੀਸਟੋਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਵੇ। ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ, ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹਾਲਤ ਹੈ ਬੜੀ ਨਿੱਘਰ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਆ। ਸਾਡਾ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਵਿਗੜ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ, ਸੋਝੀ ਵਰਗਾ ਕੁੜ ਵੜ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ। ਹੈਲਥ ਕੇਅਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਬੜਾ ਡਿਲੇ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਆ, ਬੜੀ ਵੇਟ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਆ। ਸੋ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਧ ਗਿਆ। ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਅੱਗੇ ਆਉਣਾ ਪੈਣਾ। ਮੈਂ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਮ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਵੀ ਕੀਤਾ, ਸੋ ਮੇਰੀ ਇਹ ਇੱਛਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਰ ਪਾਰਟਿਸਿਪੇਟ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਹ ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਕੋਲੰਬੀਅਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇਹ ਵਧੀਆ ਕਰ ਸਕੀ।
ਅਖੀਰ 'ਚ ਕੀ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੋਗੇ?
ਬਸ ਅਖੀਰ 'ਚ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹੀ ਸੁਨੇਹਾ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵੋਟਾਂ ਦਾ ਹੱਕ ਆ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ 40 ਸਾਲ ਬਾਅਦ ਮਿਲਿਆ, ਆਪਣੀ ਵੋਟ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਪਾਓ। ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਰੇਨ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਸ਼ਾਈਨ, ਐਡਵਾਂਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੋਟਾਂ ਪੈ ਚੁੱਕੀਆਂ, ਪਰ ਹੁਣ 19 ਤਰੀਕ ਆਖਰੀ ਦਿਨ ਹੈ। ਸਵੇਰੇ 8 ਵਜੇ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ 8 ਵਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੋਟਾਂ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਲੂ ਵੇਵ ਹੈ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਕਾਮਯਾਬ ਕਰੋ, ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਸੂਬੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਚੇਂਜ ਲਿਆ ਸਕੀਏ।
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਵੈਰੀ ਮਚ।
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਜੀ, ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ।
ਤੇਗਜੋਤ, ਅੱਜ ਬੜੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦਾ ਬੜਾ ਭਰਵਾਂ ਹੁੰਗਾਰਾ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਆ, ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਫੀਲ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ?
ਮੇਰੀ ਸਮਾਈਲ ਕੀ ਦੱਸਦੀ ਪਈ ਆ ਜੀ। ਸੋ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਹੁੰਗਾਰਾ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਸਿੱਧੂ ਮਿਲਿਆ, ਔਰ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਸੱਜਣਾ ਮਿੱਤਰਾਂ ਦਾ, ਦੋਸਤਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰਨ ਆਏ ਨੇ। ਔਰ ਅੱਜ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਸਰੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਬਲੂ ਟਰਨ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਆ। ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਬਲੂ ਇਜ਼ ਬੈਟਰ, ਇਜ਼ ਵੈਰੀ ਬੈਟਰ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ। ਸੋ ਜੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਚੰਗਾ ਲੱਗਾ ਜੀ ਅੱਜ।
ਯਾ ਸੋ ਕਾਫੀ ਕਰਾਊਡ ਆਇਆ ਸਟਰੀਟ ਤੇ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਜਦੋਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਕੀ ਸੁਣ ਰਹੇ
ਜੀ? ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਬਸ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰੱਬ ਦਾ ਆਸ਼ੀਰਵਾਦ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੈ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਬਸ ਖਿੱਚ ਕੇ ਰੱਖੋ ਕੰਮ, ਜਿੱਤ ਸਾਡੀ ਪੱਕੀ ਆ ਜੀ।
ਸੋ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਣੇ 2 ਦਿਨ ਰਹਿ ਗਏ ਆ, ਹੁਣ 2 ਦਿਨਾਂ 'ਚ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੀ ਪਲਾਨ ਹੈਗਾ?
ਪਲਾਨ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਵੱਧ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਰੀਚ ਕਰੀਏ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਐਡਵਾਂਸ ਵੋਟਿੰਗ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੋਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਾ ਸਕੇ। ਮੇਕ ਸ਼ੋਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਸਾਡਾ ਸੁਨੇਹਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਹੁੰਚਾਇਆ ਜਾਵੇ, ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਵੋਟਿੰਗ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ ਜੀ। ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਵੋਟਿੰਗ ਸਾਡੀ ਇੱਕ ਡੈਮੋਕ੍ਰੈਟਿਕ ਰਾਈਟ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡੀ ਅਗਲਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਭਵਿੱਖ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਫਿਊਚਰ ਆ, ਉਹ ਸਹੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਸਰੀ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵੋਟਿੰਗ ਹੈ ਪ੍ਰੋਪਰਲੀ ਕਰੀਏ, ਵੱਧ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਚੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਨੰਬਰ ਵੱਧ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਈਏ, ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੱਡੀ ਲੈਂਡਸਲਾਈਡ ਵਿਕਟਰੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗੂਗਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ।
ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੀ ਫਾਈਨਲ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਕੀ ਹੈ?
ਫਾਈਨਲ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਮੇਰਾ ਇਹੋ ਹੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਦੋਸਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਡੈਫੀਨੇਟਲੀ ਰੇਨ ਔਰ ਸ਼ਾਈਨ, ਧੁੱਪ ਹੋਵੇ ਛਾਂ ਹੋਵੇ, ਦੋਸਤੋ ਬਾਹਰ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਨਿਕਲਿਓ, ਵੋਟ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਪਾਇਓ। ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਸ ਵੋਟ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਇਕੱਲਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ, ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਫਿਊਚਰ ਦਾ ਸਵਾਲ ਹੈ, ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਸਵਾਲ ਹੈ, ਆਪਣੇ ਯੂਥ ਦਾ ਸਵਾਲ ਹੈ, ਆਪਣੇ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਵਾਲ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਗੋ ਆਊਟ ਐਂਡ ਵੋਟ, ਇਟਸ ਵੈਰੀ ਵੈਰੀ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ। ਅਕਤੂਬਰ 19 ਅਸੀਂ ਨਵੀਂ ਹਿਸਟਰੀ ਕ੍ਰੀਏਟ ਕਰਨ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ। ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ।
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਵੈਰੀ ਮਚ।
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਵੈਰੀ ਮਚ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਸਿੱਧੂ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਮਨਦੀਪ, ਆਪਣੇ ਅੱਜ ਬੜਾ ਭਰਵਾਂ ਹੁੰਗਾਰਾ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਤੋਂ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਆ। ਬਹੁਤ ਚਿਰ ਬਾਅਦ ਮੈਂ ਇੰਨਾ ਭੀੜ ਭੜਾਕਾ ਦੇਖਿਆ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਲੱਗ ਰਿਹਾ?
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਦੇਖਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ। ਦੇਖੋ ਜੀ, ਮੈਂ ਰਹਿਣੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਸਰੀ ਵਾਸੀਆਂ ਦਾ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਇੰਨਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਭਰਵਾਂ ਹੁੰਗਾਰਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਲੋਕੀ ਚੇਂਜ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਲੋਕੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਏ ਆ।
ਤੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਆਫਿਸ 'ਚ ਵੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਬੜੀ ਹੁਮਾ ਕੇ ਪਹੁੰਚੀ ਸੀਗੀ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਸੁਣਨ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ?
ਲੋਕ ਜੋ ਵੋਟ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਫਿਰ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਦਫ਼ਤਰ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਦੇ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਵੋਟ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਹਾਂ, ਅਸੀਂ ਧਾਲੀਵਾਲ ਨੂੰ ਵੋਟ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਆਏ, ਅਸੀਂ ਮਨਦੀਪ ਨੂੰ ਵੋਟ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਹਾਂ। ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦਾ ਰਿਸਪੌਂਸ ਦੇ ਕੇ ਲੋਕੀ ਚੇਂਜ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ। ਲੋਕੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੋਜੀ ਵਰਗੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਸਕੂਲਾਂ 'ਚੋਂ ਕੱਢੋ।
ਸੋ ਕਾਫੀ ਲੋਕਾਂ 'ਚ ਉਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਤੇ ਐਕਸਾਈਟਮੈਂਟ
ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ। ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਦੇਖਿਆ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਰਿਕਾਰਡ ਟੁੱਟ ਕੇ ਇੰਨੀ ਵੋਟ ਪਈ ਆ, ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇੰਨੀ ਕਦੀ ਵੋਟ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਈ ਅਰਲੀ ਪੋਲਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਸੋ ਲੋਕੀ ਐਕਸਾਈਟਡ ਆ ਇਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਲਈ।
ਸੋ ਆਪਣੇ ਸੈਟਰਡੇ ਨਾਈਟ ਦਾ ਕੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਆ?
ਸੈਟਰਡੇ ਨਾਈਟ ਹੋਪਫੁਲੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮੇਰੇ ਖਿਆਲ ਇੱਥੇ ਦੱਸਾਂਗੇ, ਬਾਕੀ ਜੋ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਕਰੂਗਾ ਸਿਰ ਮੱਥੇ ਆ। ਆਸ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੈ ਜੀ।
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਦੀ ਜੇ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਹੋਗੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ MLA ਬਣਨ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੀ ਪਲਾਨ ਹੈਗੇ?
ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਨੇ ਜੇ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕੀਤੀ, ਅਸੀਂ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਆਪਣਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੋਜੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਹੈ ਸਕੂਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਕੱਢਿਆ ਜਾਵੇ। ਤੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਹੈ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਘੱਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਵੇ, ਇਹਦੇ ਰੂਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਜਾਵੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸਰੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਧ ਚੁੱਕਾ ਜੀ।
ਹਸਪੀਟਲ ਦੀ ਬੜੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਹੈ ਆਪਣੇ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਹੁਣ ਚਿਲਡਰਨਸ ਹਸਪੀਟਲ ਡਿਕਲੇਅਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲੀਡਰ ਨੇ, ਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਐਮਰਜੈਂਸੀ 'ਚ ਵੀ ਬੜਾ ਭੀੜ ਭੜਾਕਾ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੈਕੰਡ ਹਸਪੀਟਲ ਵੀ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ।
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਜੀ। 1959 ਦਾ ਇਹ ਹਸਪੀਟਲ ਹੋਇਆ, 65 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਆ, ਹਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਹਸਪੀਟਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਣਿਆ। ਸੋ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦੂਜਾ ਹਸਪੀਟਲ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ। ਅਸੀਂ ਹੁਣੇ ਪਰਸੋਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਰਾਸ਼ਟਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਹਸਪੀਟਲ ਅਨਾਉਂਸ ਕੀਤਾ, ਚਿਲਡਰਨ ਹਸਪੀਟਲ। ਸਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ। ਸਾਡੀ ਸਰੀ ਨੂੰ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਅਣਗੌਲਿਆ ਗਿਆ, ਇਹਨੂੰ ਕਦੀ ਵੀ ਫਰੰਟ ਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਿਆਂਦਾ ਗਿਆ। ਸੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮੌਕਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਹਸਪੀਟਲ ਦੇਵਾਂਗੇ। ਸਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਰੀ ਦੀ ਆਵਾਮ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਆ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਹੁਲਾਰਾ ਮਾਰੋ। ਸੈਚਰਡੇ ਨੂੰ ਮੀਂਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੈ, ਤੂਫਾਨ ਆ, ਪਰ ਵੋਟਾਂ ਪਾਉਣ ਦਾ ਵੇਖੋ ਲੋਕੀ ਨਿਕਲਦੇ ਆ। ਅਸੀਂ ਰਿਕੁਐਸਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਵੋਟ ਪਾਓ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਹੱਕ ਆ ਵੋਟ ਪਾਉਣਾ। ਬਹੁਤ ਔਖੇ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਹੱਕ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ।
ਅਖੀਰ 'ਚ ਕੀ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੋਗੇ?
ਅਖੀਰ ਤੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਫਿਰ ਇਹੋ ਹੀ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਵੋਟ ਪਾਓ ਤੇ ਚੇਂਜ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਓ ਤੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਜਿਤਾਓ।
Thank you very much. Thank you. So, Mr. Rustad, when you see the large crowd here at a Bombay Banquet Hall, when you walked in, how you feel?
You know, it warms my heart. I've spent so much time in Surrey. It's like a second community for me. People are so warm. They're so welcoming. I'm just, you know, it's such an honor to be here and have such a great crowd. It really pumps me up for October 19th for Election Day. I'm very, very positive about us being able to take many, many seats, if not all of the seats in Surrey.
Yeah. So you very nicely summarize all your platform. Can you briefly touch upon in a summary way?
Sure, in about half an hour, no problem.
Couple of minutes.
Oh, I mean, the bottom line is we've had 7 years of very destructive policies under David Eby, and it is time to bring optimism, it's trying to bring hope, it's trying to bring common sense change to British Columbia, and that sums it up in a nutshell. We just need to get people back to work, we need to get government out of the way, we need to make sure we look after our healthcare, end the crime and the drugs on our street, make sure that we get rid of things like SOGI, and our education system needs to be focused on teaching kids how to think, not what to think. There's so much more that we need to deliver. It's going to be a lot of work, but we're up for the challenge, and we've got great candidates here in Surrey that I know are going to deliver for the people in this community.
And when we talk about infrastructure, I like what you said about the Patalo Bridge, because they have to look like 15, 20 years down the road, like changing 4 lanes with the 4 lanes. Now you said today 6 lanes. How about the Massey Tunnel?
So Massey Tunnel, the NDP are talking about putting in an 8-lane tunnel. I think that's going to take more than a decade if it can ever even get approved. Enough of the nonsense. We're just going to put a bridge in. We're going to make sure that we have that in place as quickly as we possibly can. We've got all the structure that is built up before the NDP took power. We're just going to take advantage of that and move forward and get the bridge done.
And the hospital, NDP announced number of times. Nothing happened yet. Yeah. And same thing with the SkyTrain.
You know, the hospital, they've got an excavation permit. They don't have a building permit for Surrey Memorial. So, I mean, we're going to make sure we move forward with that as well as the hospital in Cloverdale. But the most exciting thing we need to deliver is a children's hospital in Surrey for people south of the Fraser. It's something that's desperately needed in the community. So I'm very pleased that we'll work with the healthcare professionals, we'll work with the city, we'll make sure we get this project off the ground.
So 2 more sleeps until Saturday. How you feel going to on Saturday evening?
Well, I feel nervous, but at the same time, you know, I'm seeing the support around the province. I'm seeing the rallies, like 1,000+ people that we had here tonight. It's huge to see, and so I'm very optimistic about going into Saturday. But you know, it's going to be up to the voters. We need to make sure we tell people get out and vote, bring back common sense. Let's deliver this for the people in British Columbia.
Thank you very much. ਅੱਜ ਸਰੀ ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਕੋਲੰਬੀਆ ਬੰਬੇ ਬੈਂਕੁਏਟ ਹਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੜੀ ਭਾਰੀ ਤਾਦਾਦ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਊਥ ਏਸ਼ੀਅਨ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ, ਗੋਰੇ, ਚਾਈਨੀਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੁਮ ਹੁਮਾ ਕੇ ਪਹੁੰਚੀ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਧੱਕਾ ਪੈ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ। ਐਂਡ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ MLA ਦੇ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਸੀ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਡੀ ਵੱਖ-ਵੱਖ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਲੈਟਫਾਰਮ ਹੈ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਸੇਮ ਪਲੈਟਫਾਰਮ ਰਿਪੋਰਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਆ। ਤੇ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਜੌਨ ਰਸਟਡ ਜਦੋਂ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਭਾਰੀ ਤਾਦਾਦ ਤਾੜੀਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਲੰਬੀ ਚੌੜੀ ਸਪੀਚ ਕੀਤੀ। ਉਸ ਸਪੀਚ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਲੈਟਫਾਰਮ ਦੇ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਮੁੱਦੇ ਸੀ, ਸੋਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਹਟਾਉਣਾ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਰਿਪਲੇਸ ਕਰਨਾ ਦੂਜੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਬੁਲਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਰਿਪਲੇਸ ਕਰਨਾ, ਸੈਕੰਡ ਹਸਪੀਟਲ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ, ਨਵੀਂ ਅਨਾਊਂਸਮੈਂਟ ਚਿਲਡਰਨਸ ਹਸਪੀਟਲ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਮਾਲ ਡਰੱਗਸ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਡੀਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲਾਈਜ਼ ਕਰਦਾ ਸੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਫਿਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲਾਈਜ਼ ਕਰਨਾ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਲੋਕ ਡਰੱਗਸ ਨਾਲ ਨਾ ਮਰਨ। ਮੈਂਟਲ ਹੈਲਥ ਬਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੁੱਦੇ ਆ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ। ਸੋ ਕਾਫੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਉੱਭਰ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਤੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈ ਚੇਂਜ ਲਿਆਉਣਾ ਮੰਗਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਾਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਲੀਅਰਲੀ ਕਹੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਪੀਚ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਬੜਾ ਉਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਦਿਖਾਇਆ, ਬੜਾ ਤਾੜੀਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੋਇਆ। ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਰੇ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟਸ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਹੋਈ। CJ ਸਿੱਧੂ ਰਿਪੋਰਟਿੰਗ ਫਰਮ ਬੰਬੇ ਬੈਂਕਟ ਹਾਲ, ਸਰੀ, ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਕੋਲੰਬੀਆ।